Tarik Talk. Your host, Tarik Mendez, takes you on a journey with guests from all around the world. Broadcasting around the world. Around the world. This is Tarik Talk.
All right, guys, today we are here with Gabrielle. Gabrielle, thank you so much for being on the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so excited how much we get to talk about today, especially your art, which I'm so fascinated by. So do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, of course. My name's Gabby, and I come from Los Angeles. I'm a Taiwanese American artist, but I also have Vietnamese and French family cultural background. So I'm actually kind of multinational, multicultural, which is I'm proud of. That's where I come from.
Absolutely.
And then I started doing art like a couple of years ago, but I have been in art and fashion industry over decades, and I also studied PhD. Visual art program in UC San Diego and got master at UC Santa Barbara, focusing on art history. So I actually started my art as a researcher, not as a fine artist. But somehow there was a turning point in my life that I realized that it was about the time that I put out my creation, and then to really connect with people in my life. And that was when my mom fell ill and she was bedridden. And so we started art therapy for her by like encouraging her to do watercolors and like pastels, just like following the very simple rules for like an art therapy session. So we did that for over a year, but somehow she became more seriously in her illness, so she couldn't do it anymore. But I just kept doing and put all my art on her wall.
Oh, wow.
And then my friends and family saw this and somehow liked my art. So step by step, I just slowly built up my work portfolio and had chances to show around and to really share with people what I believe and how art can really heal and really elevates. So that's where I came from.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. Do you mind telling us a little bit about art therapy? That sounds so fascinating.
Yeah, of course. Art therapy actually, it's not. What I realize is that people think like they can get healed in certain kind of therapy. Mm-hmm. You always expect that there is an end result that, okay, after you do this, you can be healed. But with my own experience with my mom, I realized that the illness she got is Parkinson's.
Oh, okay.
Because it's will always be decline. There's no turn back. There's no way that she can be healed. So from my experience, that I realized that art or therapy through any kind of input or effort is that you just go with it and then just to enjoy and to bring out the beautiful side of the process, but don't expect that really you have an end result or anything that in the end, because like for example my mom, now she's bedridden, she couldn't do it anymore. We thought that okay, maybe some therapy would get her better. But somehow we just let it go. It's like we cherish every single day. Every breath that she has is precious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so in a way, it's not just that you can heal the process, but also your own self too. The way that you're doing it is very magical.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's such a beautiful story. And I love, I want to talk a little bit about how you mentioned you put your art in her bedroom. Because I think, no matter where you're going through in life, a little color and a little design can really uplift your mood. Is that what you noticed?
And I think that color is the answer.
Absolutely.
No matter what. That's where I came from. I actually collected millions of images before I really just start doing things, because I was a researcher. So I'm always big fan of photography and images and my collections on the computers. I'm a very visual person. But once I started doing my own art, I collect the colors.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I categorize colors, or like as you can see, my earlier paintings are hard edge. It's not abstract. It still has like art coloring, practice in certain in my work in that way. And so actually it's through a couple years of putting colors, experimenting colors, and see how it can and go well together. And or even I asked my mom if she likes a certain color in her room or a certain color in the painting, even though she cannot talk, but she would raise her eyebrows or raise her fingers and tell me what she likes. And so it really lightens up her spirits.
Absolutely, it does.
And that also makes her become like part of my creation team. In a way. We're very bounded through that process.
That's beautiful.
So color is everything's the answer. And I use acrylic a lot. And I think acrylic is so versatile. It has so much potential. But later I would also like to experiment, because I'm still early in my practice. I have so much, you inspire me to your work, you're seeing. And so I think there's still so many possibilities that I can explore and things.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for saying that, because when I saw your Instagram when we first met, I saw like art therapy, and I was so fascinated. I said, oh my gosh, like, I had no idea what it could be. And the way you describe it, I think that's so beautiful and so spiritual in a way. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here today.
In a way, I also like what we just talked about. In a way, I always feel there's a higher purpose, a higher dimension, or that if you put good intention and you manifestation and all the good energies will come to you, and when you give out with your best intention, then the universe will answer you, and all the things around you will come to help you.
Oh, absolutely.
And give you better beliefs in life.
Absolutely agree. And I must apologize because of my dry cough, because I have sinus problems. But I absolutely agree with you, because I feel like that's how we were brought. Because funny story. We just met like at a building's lobby. We met at R150, and then which was what, like 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. And now we're
in
here.
the lobby.
So it's like, and it's so funny because like that
week. You were still in your earphone.
Yeah, I was like in my own world, right?
Somehow I just saw, because I didn't know how to get into the building yet. I emailed the building, but didn't really had a appointment. Yeah. So Tarik, and you were just like slowly gliding.
Because it's so funny, because that same week I was like, okay, I already interviewed like a lot of painters. I interviewed a lot of like people that do sculpting, and I was started to think, okay, what's next? I want like a different art medium that I don't know, I don't know anything about, or a lot of people don't know anything about. And then when we met that day, excuse me, and we follow each other on Instagram, and I saw art therapy, I said, oh my God, I said, what a small world. This is like perfect. But then I didn't it took me a while to like invite you to do the podcast, because like, oh, she might be busy. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you doubt yourself.
I thought you were busy.
No, I was like, oh, she might be busy. She probably won't even have time to do it. But then I thought, you know what? I definitely want her to be here. Let me just say, she could say no, and then whatever. We might do like a few weeks later, but let me just ask. And I'm so glad I did, because you're here today. So let's start talking about, thank you. Let's start talking about your creative process. Like how do you get inspired by things? And going back to like you mentioned acrylic, and then like what kind of mediums you use.
Acrylic is because it's so easy to start with. And I grew up in a house with my grandpa and my mom, parents, and we had gardens, and my grandpa was an was a government official in Taiwan. So whenever he has birthdays, we had like flower bouquets all over, like just at home and sent from people who really respect him. And I got inspired by flowers, by nature, by our family memories, and so that's where I came from. And my grandma also collects Chinese textile, so we have a bit of textile works at home, and so I've always been very intrigued or attracted to art. And my grandpa, he did calligraphy almost every single day.
That's so cool.
So I also learned a little bit calligraphy, and so the color and the brushworks and everything, I think just all came naturally to me once I pick up the medium. So that's how the very first thing that I think I can create my art is by using multiple colors and using my own specific brush strokes works learned from Chinese calligraphy. So that's how I marry like both the Eastern and the Western tradition. But my practice is very intuitive in a way. It's kind of also intentional. I would say it's an intentional art with a focus of I want to bring enlightenment or joy or like any encouragement to the people who see my art. That's my intention. But in a way, it's also emotional, intuition. I have my own studio built in LA so I was creating there for during COVID, and then it was also set in a garden.
Oh, how beautiful! Did you have like a water fountain too? Like,
yeah. And I could also hear like the bird chirping or like my dog barking. His name is Rio.
Oh, Rio, like REAL or like
RIO.
RIO, like Brazil. Rio.
Yes,
yes. You see how the universe made us?
Yeah, he'll be coming to New York in August.
So cool.
We're gonna bring him here.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, that would be fun. And so I would bring him into my studio, and he would just like chill.
Definitely.
So it's the natural. It's that the everything that's it encourages me to look at very detailed things. Once I started my art, I feel like it changes my whole life. For example, you really had more things to say to people, and you connect your work with people, and that's a very beautiful interaction that I find. For example, I travel around different cities in the world and meet people from different cultures. They always see something different in my art and share with me. I think that is so beautiful. A very rewarding experience too, and also it helps me to create many more interesting works too.
That's very interesting, because that's going to be my next question. Are you an artist that you like to hear like the perspective and point of view of people like that see your artwork? Like, do you enjoy like them telling you excuse me, do you enjoy them telling you like, oh, I see this here, or I see like a river, or do you enjoy that process? Or like when you paint, are you thinking about like how the person will see your art?
That's a very good question. Yeah, when I was doing my work, I think I just threw things out there. I didn't really expect any outcome. I think that's part of my abstract creation process too. Is that it's really grows in first through my mood, my interaction, and my how I'm living my life during the day, and then I put my energy into the work. Depends on my inspirations, what a song I heard, the piano I just played, that a poetry I read. So it's inspired by my personal living life. But when I put it out there in my work, I think people see it, and it's very subjective. I think they interpret it through their own living experiences, and I'm open to all kinds of interpretation, because that's the fun part of it.
Absolutely, that's beautiful said. And I must say, I should have worn glasses like you because my contacts are so dry here. So I
I
apologize.
got
And you look
inspired
very
by Oprah Winfrey. I was looking at her
Yes.
talk show, and she's so inspiring, and with her glasses,
Yeah.
and I think it's a good way to go.
Well, I gotta tell you, I'll be inspired to wear glasses in my next episode because of you. So thank you.
You have a chic hat.
Thank you,
Very
thank
artist.
Thank
look.
you. That's very sweet of you. So we talked about creative process. We
Creative
talked about the
process.
perspective. And when you're creating your art, are you an artist that you kind of like to be? As you mentioned, you had your dog around you. Do you like to be surrounded by other people while you're creating, or do you kind of like need like your me time? Let's say.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes I would start it with what you say, like a me time, because the way I look at it is that I look into myself, and then I put my output into onto the canvas. But also during the process or at the end of the process, I invite collaborations of ideas or input of ideas. For example, my friends, my family, or I would show, for example, because my mom is still in Taiwan, and then when I was creating in LA, we use FaceTime. Then I would show my painting to her and the nurses, and it's just I think art for me is very dear, is a very very close to my own feeling thing that I don't know if I put it right, but some artists might resonate. It's just like it's just you pour your soul totally into it, and without any expectations.
Absolutely.
Because that's just you.
Yeah.
That's how you lead your daily life. That's art is in the cup of coffee you drink. Art is in the way you drink it. Art is in the way you dress. Art is everything. So I think I'm a very like free flow feeling in terms of that.
And when you're creating your art, you mentioned you play the piano. Do you listen to music, or do you want it quiet? Like, do you listen to TV? Like, what does it look like when you're in the art, like in your art studio creating?
Oh yes, I play music, and sometimes I found I even play some very calming or very or I listen to the Tibetan ball singing, chanting.
I love that, yes.
And before I create, I would even do a little bit meditation and to calm myself down, to really focus and think of what I would like to put, like what I would like to bring out to the world. And it's just like keeping a diary. Like you let your emotion flow, but since I started playing piano when I was 5, thanks to my mom again, she kind of encouraged me to go. And so actually if I was an artist, I would love to be a pianist, but somehow it didn't happen. But I think keeping playing music as a hobby is absolutely beautiful and phenomenal. It changes life, and it really
your
connects
mood,
you.
Your mood.
Your mood. It opens your senses, and so in a way, I'm very grateful to be able to appreciate music in my own unique way.
And when you listen to music, do you try to match the music to your emotion, or you just kind of let like whatever play and then you try to match your emotion to the music?
Oh, it happens both ways. And then one time I was playing the Rachmaninoff concerto second. I think it's the first or second. I forgot. But it's very very phenomenal, very strong with the notes, ups and downs. And I share with one of my sisters, and she said, "Oh, I can tell that you probably listen to Rachmaninoff."
That's so cool.
So imagine how that can just really influence your output and your creation. So I believe a lot of artists would also listen to music, and it can probably bring out different stories or share different stories.
And are you like a morning or a nighttime artist? Like, when's your best time to get creative?
In LA, I was more of a morning person, because in LA, it's like
it's always sunny and beautiful, right?
or in Brazil, we say like this, like always. Sometimes. Yeah, I think in LA, I was a more morning person. But in New York, since I haven't really had my studio yet, I'm hoping in starting July, I'm now more of a late night person that I would just read and think and doing my things. But probably I'll go back to my old ritual when I have my own studio and really have a setup and things and your own schedule, because it's so important for artists to have a very a set schedule that you know what when you're doing and how is that can set up your intention too.
Yeah, I love that. I love how like every time I think of a question, you say something, because that was going to be my next question. Like in terms of like I have my own ritual. Like when I get to the studio, I have like a coffee, then I get right to work. Some of the previous guests that I interviewed, they say like sometimes they could take like 1 to 3 hours where they're just like organizing or cleaning before they get like creative and inspired. What's the process like for you? Like when you first like get to your studio, do you get to work right away, or do you like have to have a tea or play some music?
I'm more of a flexible, like or sometimes I would write, or I would talk to my family, or I would just or do a little bit yoga on the side.
Oh wow, that's cool.
All kinds of activity, as long as it keeps my energy up and kind of connects me to my intuition and to and organizing and cleaning is such a great way too. Like to really declutter and kind of, or sometimes your feeling or your muse is just not there, or even I can be in the studio and just do nothing. Like just I didn't feel it. I just walk real or play with real or the next moment I have felt something.
And how do you feel about that? Because when I was younger, I used to get very angry at myself. Like I wouldn't like if I showed up early, you know, I went to the gym, did everything I had to do, then get to the studio by like 9, and I like spent my whole day there, and I wasn't able to create, and I used to be very mad at myself. But now I kind of like use that energy to like organize things, like you said, declutter. How do you feel about that? Like as you mentioned, are you able to be like, okay, I can always do it tomorrow, let me enjoy today, make the best I can today? What is it like for you?
I think it's an on and off thing, because once I declutter and after I'm done with my painting, it just became a mess again.
Again, right? Yes, I know what you mean. I'm like that too. So it's a forever
never-ending process of declutter and create clutter again.
No, that is
it's because my abstract can get very messy. I'm just relaxed about it. I'm just relaxed about it. I do what I can, do what I'm good at, and sometimes you have the energy to do it, and you do it with your utmost
best effort.
That's right. And sometimes you don't have energy, then I think that's fine.
And like, where do ideas come to you, like in your mind? Is it like, for me, it's like when I'm moving, driving in a plane, that's when I have like the best ideas and I quickly write them down. What is it like for you?
I would type on my phone.
Like in the notes?
Or take pictures. Whenever I see something, like I pay attention to a lot of details, like the colors in the plants, the forms, or the texture on the textile, or everything. I take a lot of close-up pictures or just with the moment passing by, or if I read something on a book, or if I surf on the website, saw something, I take snapshots. And I'm a hoarder of millions of things. And I think my next step would be like keep it more organized and really have a subject that focus, and I can develop different series for my paintings and based on my collections. And
and how soon, when you have an idea, that you're able to like transfer that into like a physical product? Like when you get inspired by like a flower, like how soon until you've seen that flower that it goes into your art?
I think probably because that wouldn't just happen right away. I would still research a little bit. Like I think that got into because I started as a researcher in art. I would look at more details, things of certain flowers and what it looks like, how other artists interpret it, and how, what's the story behind it, anything fun about it. And so my thought of a subject would just like start like an umbrella and then go into very different subjects under the umbrella, and then it lines up with then it inspires my own outputs.
Oh wow, that's very cool. When you say researcher, do you mean like scientific researcher? What do you mean?
Like just everything, just curious.
Oh, okay.
When you're curious about,
yes.
like for example, for about a burger,
Yeah.
you're curious
You're looking
about
at the colors,
how, like what's inside,
Yeah.
where does the lettuce come from? Is
like,
the
oh my
potato
God,
from
I think like
Idaho?
that. Yeah.
What does Idaho looks
Yeah.
like? Is this like a non-stop thing? It connects. It's like a
Yeah.
neuron that connects
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I'm very curious by nature. I just look around how magical things are.
Oh my gosh, I'm the same way. Like sometimes I'll be at a restaurant and like my mind will take me to like, oh, what farm? If it's a farm, is it like a grass-fed animal? Is it like a cage animal? You know what I mean? Like I think like so diverse, and I come back to Earth. I'm like, whoa, that was like a trip right now.
Yeah, come back and
Yeah,
then say,
come
okay,
back.
I'm still gonna enjoy the first
Absolutely.
bite of it. Because it's
Absolutely.
a work of miracles.
Yeah.
I think as an artist, I started to appreciate that everything in this world is a miracle. You appreciate lives and you cherish about things, and for example, you recycle things, and you just somehow you're a little universe, and the art you output is like a connection to a very beautiful surroundings. Galaxy.
Yes,
I don't know if I.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very abstract, but
No, I definitely
That's-
agree because like right. Have you ever had an idea like you think to yourself, oh, maybe this is not a good idea, or maybe let me wait on it, and then maybe like a couple weeks later you see like another artist has like pursued the idea. Has that happened to you before?
in a way, yes, because I look at so much things and so much materials. But on the other hand, sometimes I could even say I start trying to like copy or steal ideas in a good way.
Yeah.
But no matter what I do, somehow it turns out that your work becomes more you. There's nothing that you can really copy or really steal, because you digest and kind of you internalize, and the energy, the artistic energy that you output is
like
all
incubate
pure.
the idea in a
Yes, it's you. It's uniquely you. It's because it comes from within you, and you just output outside. So I think in a way that I do feel like, oh wow, so many ideas, so many things out there. People might do very similar things.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think every artist's journey is very special. It's unique. Come from different backgrounds and different upbringings and different experiences. So I'm not worried about that. If I really see somebody or having the same ideas or something, because in the end it's all you. Like it's more about what you want to say to the world, and that's how I see it.
That's beautifully said, because we were talking about like the universe and manifestation, and I always feel like artists it's like we're connected to like a creative iCloud in a way where we can like pick ideas from. And then I feel like sometimes it's like the ideas have their own spirit in a way where they'll like come to you, and if they feel like you cannot use that idea right now, they'll go to another artist. So I think like, wow, we kind of all share like this unique bond with each other, like people like we never met, different countries, different culture, different language, but still like we're kind of thinking in the same way, even though we have complete different like life experiences and stuff, which I think is so fascinating.
I like that art, that spirit, the thing, because it also connects to my own practice. Like the way I did my abstract is like I'm intentionally doing certain brush strokes and certain things to expect how it can become. But on the other hand, there's something out of my control, because you can see those strips and things that it's just happened by accident, or it happens by its own. So sometimes I feel like my painting has its own character. It has its own something. Like
has its own
that,
life.
its own life. Yeah, its own life that
totally agree.
you want to say you cannot control. But sometimes you may think that's a mistake, but it probably something interesting that later you don't think it's a mistake anymore. Absolutely. It can be something very special, a special thought, a special line, a special moment that you capture. So it can be very spiritual thing too. That's how I say it. On the other hand, because I didn't come from like an academy trained background, so I think I'm more free flow, like in a way.
You're not
I'm
restricted. You're more like a
yeah.
bird. You can go anywhere in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as my wings can like
keep up.
function. Yeah. I would totally do that. I would just like explore around.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the freedom. I think art really frees that spirit inside us, or like frees all kinds of restrictions. And
that's so funny you say that, because when I was like young, like in my early 20s, I was in Barcelona, and I kept thinking, I can't wait to go back home so I can paint. I can't go wait to go back. And then I saw like a older person, like it was like a senior citizen in a way, at the beach, and they were like painting this painting. And I said, oh my God, why am I waiting to go back home? So I went like bought a bunch of like mini canvases, and I ripped out the wood and just like gave it back to the
Your
store.
aha moment.
Yeah, and I just exactly like Oprah says.
Yes.
And I said I could just do the sketching here, and if I don't need to get the paint because I can't take it with me, so I'll just do this. And it was like the best experience ever, like feeling the sand on my feet, using the sand for like certain parts. It was just like,
that's magical.
And then I thought, oh my gosh, like we really restrict ourselves. Like as kids, we think we're endless, we have so much freedom, and as we get older, we kind of like restrict ourselves and think, I can't do that. Well, that's not possible. That's too much. You know what I mean? But then when you get to a point, as you said, like it's really freeing to be like, okay, this will take me wherever. As you mentioned, like when you're painting your paintings, it's very intuitive. And I must apologize, my chair is squeaking and it makes so much noise.
I was totally just focusing on what you're saying. Okay, very beautiful. Sorry. No worries.
But I think it's so beautiful that you touched on that.
Yeah, and creation is at the present moment. Or I would do too. I was thinking like, okay, later if I be there, if I do this, I'll be okay. And why not? I can do that. But I think just right at the moment, you let yourself grow, you let yourself start, and everything can become possible. Yeah.
No, definitely. And when you're not creating, like, what do you do that makes you like happy in a way? Like, do you go to galleries? Do you go to museums?
Yeah.
What do you like to do?
I love to know what people think. I think especially now being in New York is a really fascinating time. Like after COVID, everything's back, and there are so much energies here, so much things happening. Yes. And for example, like I was back to the city a few weeks ago and started talking to people, and I realized like somehow people around us are can be artists too. Yeah. Like a sandwich chef at the shop, he say he's a photographer and he'll have a show in Chelsea.
Oh wow!
And then or like a realtor's friend, and she say, she her brother-in-law is a very famous artist in New York, signed by Pace Gallery.
That's so cool.
So or like even my friends, and she's works in tech, but she somehow also became a ceramic artist. Wow. It's just like so many possibilities and creativities out there in New York or even in other cities. Anywhere can be possible. Yeah. It's like you let your creative side outgrow and put yourself out there. Something's fun's gonna be happening.
Oh, definitely. And I love how the city is so diverse, and you see so many different people. Like the other day I was having like a coffee, and I was like sitting by the water by the World Trade Center, and then I was just like people watching or whatever, and then there was this lady running, And then she was like running. I started running a few times, and then she started to stretch. And out of nowhere, she starts like singing. And she was, and I asked her, I said, "Oh my gosh, you have such a beautiful voice." She's like, excuse me. She's like, "Yeah, I'm an opera singer. I'm just doing my warm ups because I perform at the Lincoln tonight." I was like, "Oh my gosh, you really have such a good balance. Like you're, like such a good multitasker." Like she was just like, doing her stretches, but then like, I don't know how to do it. Like,
Yeah,
And I thought, wow, like we really don't know.
It's magical.
Like people's story, you know what I mean? Like we get so distracted by everyday things, but when you stop and talk to people, you really like, wow, like I'm so focused like on getting from A to B, like driving, worry about traffic, and then you're like, when I stop, like that's why they say never judge a book by its cover. And then there's another one they say you never know what somebody's going through, and it's so true.
Exactly.
And I feel like the older you get, the more it like relates. You're like, wow, it really
such
a diverse
can
kind
be
of
an
world.
interesting book once you open your talk, and then it's just amazing stories. Everyone has a interesting story, and I think also exercising and keeping yourself in a good mood and focusing on every healthy aspects of your life that can really help your input as well. That's what I learned, because I have been like crawling on the table or like did something that's not very healthy in a way, but if you put more attention into how you carry yourself, how healthy you want to be, and then I think your output in arts will become very different too.
That's so interesting you say that, because I was literally talking to a friend of mine and trying to convince him. I said, "Oh, you should go to he's an artist too." And I said, "You should go to the gym early, so because you have more energy." Because I was telling him, like, when I go to the gym, like if I wake up late and go to the studio, it doesn't matter how many coffees and espresso I get, how many Red Bulls. I literally have like probably like 10 hours worth of work in me. But once I go to the gym, like 5 in the morning, do my morning routine, do my emails, and I get to the studio. Like I'll literally keep working from like 10 a.m. to like 2 a.m. and I'll feel no pain. I'll feel so I'll feel like I'm centered
very
in a way,
centered.
But like, and I do my meditation. It's like you almost become like superhuman, and then you really get to experience like a different part of being an artist.
Yeah,
where you're not limited by your body and like restrictions. Like like if I lifted something, my back hurts or my legs hurt. You're just like there, like you can. It's like such a high in a way, such an experience. So that's so interesting. I'm telling you, it's like the universe like planned for us to meet.
There's a book, 5 a.m. Club. I forgot the author, but it says every successful project or everything can start at 5 a.m.
Yeah. Because I never got this. Like I remember all the adults around me, my family would always tell me, whatever you want to accomplish, like you cannot accomplish. It doesn't matter how many like investors and backing you have. You cannot do it if you don't have like a morning and nighttime routine. Like if you don't have a strategy, if you're not disciplined, if you don't have like a planner, But what they always tell me, to like, it doesn't matter how much you have. You cannot wake up at 11 a.m. and then do what you want to do. And it's so true. Like it's like it just changes your. Like sometimes I really like wake up. Sometimes I wake up at 8. Sometimes I wake up like at 5. But when I wake up at 5, like by 9 a.m. I did like 4 days worth of work from like 5 to 10 a.m. I'm like, this is amazing.
Productive.
Yeah. And like even like the morning light, like before I'm not a morning person, so I really had to like struggle and work hard to develop a morning routine and go to bed early. But like I remember being younger, like 5 years ago, like when I was 25, like waking up to go to the airport super early and be like, wow, the sunrise is so beautiful. It has such a different smell. It's like the birds sing differently. People are, you know what I mean? But then now that I get to experience that, it's just like a different vibe. It's like the earth is like, you feel like universal, like everybody's waking up. Like they always say like 3 to 4 a.m. is like the most magical time for like yoga and meditation because it's the most spiritual time. But it's true, like, you know what I mean? I feel like being able to tune into that, taking care of yourself. And also, I feel like you're nicer and better to other people, and you attract different people.
Yeah,
because
that's
your energy
a very
and your
good
vibration
point.
is higher.
Yes,
and like I was talking to my sister about this, and I thought it was crazy, right? Because like when I go to bed late, and I don't take care of my like food, I eat junk food, and I wake up late, and I'm like in a bad mood. It's like wherever I go, like if I'm in traffic or I take the train, I'm surrounded by people that are also in a bad mood, also are running late. You know what I mean?
That's the collective thing.
Did you ever notice that? Like I just started to like pick up on that a few months ago, and then when I take care of myself and I'm in an amazing mood, like I feel like I'm surrounded by other people that are amazing too. You know what I mean? Like we're not trying to beat each other to like through traffic to get to point A from point A to point B. And I think that's amazing. Like we said, this like universal collective.
Yeah, because people are made out of energies. Everyone has a certain level of vibration.
Yes.
And you attract that kind of energy, or you repel that kind of energy. Yeah.
I totally agree. It's like they say, energy cannot be destroyed, it's only transformed, which is true.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Yeah, definitely. And who are your people you look up to, like your inspiration? Do you have inspiration just like on art, like in the art world, or is it like the fashion world, interior design, like?
Yeah, I think a lot. I think if more from my personal side of it, I'm really grateful for my high school art teacher. I went to a boarding school in Taiwan, but then at that time in our senior high school time, our school hired an art teacher back from France.
Oh, wow.
She was she got her PhD in art in Paris.
That's so cool.
So she always threw out interesting projects for us to do or for us to collaborate. I think my love for art and art itself really started there because we really looked up on her. Of course, there are so many great artists, designers out there for you around you. But from my very own personal experience, is that that teacher. She's always enthusiastic. She's always a little bit crazy, but it's the most fun classes I've ever had. And so I always looking forward to that time.
That's so funny because the same for me, like my art teacher, really like made me take an interest in art. Like I always loved art, but I never thought like, oh, this could be a profession. I remember being in 4th grade and I had like an aha moment. It was like this universal. So I had a show last year, and then my 4th grade art teacher came to my show, and I didn't even know. I didn't know he was coming. And then we were talking, and then he says, "Oh my God, I always felt you had this creative art, but I didn't think you would ever like do something like this." And I was like, and I'll tell you why, because when we were kids, and I remember the previous art teachers we had, that we would always be painting or doing watercolors. Excuse me, but I remember he like made us like bring any old toys that we didn't like. So then we glue them together, then we put it in a box and spray painted it gold. And then like I realized, oh my God, so art can be anything you want. It doesn't just have to be like strictly painting. And then I told him like that just really like opened this like box in my head that I could think of whatever, you know what I mean? But that's so funny they say your art teacher was an inspiration, because my art teacher too. And it was like subconscious. I didn't really think about that till me and him started talking about that. Do you still keep in touch with her? Are you still?
She became a nun and kind of just live in a temple.
Oh wow, so, that's such an amazing trajectory. Wow, that's really cool. She went back to Paris, you think?
No, she's still in Taiwan, but moved to a different city. Yeah, I just found out because we had a big reunion, and I also donate my own painting to my high school. Yeah. That part I'm very grateful to because it inspires me, and I'm always grateful for that. So once I'm ready, I just I was connected by alumni association, and I also donate my painting to school, and now it's hanging in the library.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I'd love to see a picture of that afterwards. I could probably, if you're comfortable, can you share that on the Instagram?
Of course.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And do you think being from like such a multicultural background that has influenced in your art?
In a way that I'm very open to different things, and then I'm especially between the East and West, I'm particularly interested. I think so, because I've been traveling a lot and moving around a lot. Now I'm finally settled down in New York, but I also feel like New York is a universe. It's a world of its own. People comes from 80 different cultures around the world. So actually, I think everyone, even though we have all our ethnic groups, or like Asian American person, or like everyone has a label of it. But on the other hand, New York or this world unites us all as a world citizen. No matter where you're from, you're somehow being influenced or guided by other cultures.
Absolutely.
And some you might like, some you don't.
Yeah.
But I think that's a beautiful part of it, because we're all on the same planet.
Yeah, like
And
we're all just the same thing with
yes.
different exterior, really. Like we're all the same product in a way from the same factory. We just have a different costume. You know what I mean? It's like we're all the same, really. Where do you see yourself like the next 10 years? What are a few things that you want to accomplish?
Wow.
Or like you want to try, like you want to try sculpture, photography. Like, do you think of anything like that?
Yes, I would like to go into like a multimedia or like what you've been doing too, like sculptural, more 3D. And I think that because that can bring up a very interesting aspect to your exhibition or to the story that you want to tell, because there's not only 2-dimensional. There's always 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, or even like digital or anything like that. I'm now more focused on painting because I'm still like trying and in my early career, artist career, but later on I do see more possibilities, and I love to travel around the world in different cities and share my message, share my own how I became an artist. It's really a blessing.
Absolutely.
And I'm working on a book too, kind of like a album book or art book. Because I've already had a lot of input in my art, and each one of the painting I would love to tell their stories or like share and collect them into make them into a book. So that's another
cool
project, because I think writing and sharing, or like what you're doing now, like making podcasts, is sharing your message. You have so much to say, and then you love to share with people, and maybe in a way can inspire them or change lives. I think that's the utmost effort that I would be very grateful if I can somebody hear our podcast and want to become an artist or like connect to Tarik's works. And
not just that, I think like when you were talking about art therapy, I think that's such a beautiful like topic, you know. Like I feel like anybody, if they're like they have a parent that may be struggling with Parkinson, them just being able to go to like Bleak, buy like a $10 canvas, just some little paint, and then having that like, you know,
that's right,
that like bonding session with their parents. I think like both of them will remember that forever, you know. Like I have so many good like memories with my grandparents, like you know, like her cooking and me cutting little vegetables or like throwing you know what I mean, like those things stay with you forever, and it is like art therapy in a way, you know. It really elevates
Cooking
your mood.
is totally an outpour, a creative way of connecting with
but
the
I do
world.
think people like the people that are listening, they can definitely, you know, put a little art therapy in their life with whoever whatever they're dealing with in the world.
So easy to begin with, or even like coloring books, or on Amazon there are so many books that you can pick up and just to start a little project here and there. And another thing is to just do it consistently, persistently. That's what I learned. Like everyone can be an artist. Like there's a little artist living inside, no matter what kind of output you're doing. But if you do it like consistently, and you have your own schedule, your own goals of doing it, you put intention. Well, circle back to our intention thing. You put your great intention into it, and every project can become a fruitful one.
Absolutely. And I think the value of the art therapy as a subject is so interesting, because if you notice nowadays, coloring books are targeted to adults now. It's not just children.
Exactly.
And I think that tells so much about, you know, like adults, like having a little glass of wine, doing a little how therapeutic and relaxing that can be for everybody. So art therapy. I'm so glad we were able to sit down and talk today. Thank you so much for being here again. But I do think, you know, it's like there's so much we haven't discovered. You know, I feel like people can use a little art therapy and in their life,
that's
little by
right.
little. Yeah.
And I do encourage artists to collaborate or to put works or to like for example work for public art or put your works in hospitals, institutions, schools. For example, I'm a member of New York National Women Artists Association and the LA Art Association. Sometimes we have projects. For example, one of the latest one is they have an open call for artists to display arts in LA cancer centers.
Wow.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. If your art, I mean, of course you can put a price level on that. It's open, but if you think your art can really accompany people to go through some critical or crucial moment in their life, that's really amazing. Yeah.
Excuse me. Absolutely. I think art really can uplift.
Yeah.
Uplift like everybody. When I first moved to America, actually, do you remember there was like those terrorist attacks? I know this is like so crazy.
911. Like,
no, not those. I think it was afterwards. There was these like weird powder they were finding and like people were putting in the mail and sending to random people. So I don't know. I somehow was exposed to that, and then I had like this severe reaction, and I had to be quarantined. It was probably like the first month I was in America, so I didn't know English that well, and then I was like in the children's hospital, and I had like these huge like sores, and none of the doctors knew, and then eventually one person from the FBI came to like check my body, and they're like, yeah, this is what's going on. But yeah, it was a scary time. But then I remember one time my mom crying, and I said, "Oh, mommy, don't worry. Like this is gonna be okay. Don't this is." I didn't know how serious it was.
It sounds
but then,
pretty serious.
And then I remember her saying, "It's like, oh, I'm not crying. I'm worried about you, of course, but I'm not crying because of that. Because you get a chance at life." She says, "Because we were close by the cancer unit, like the children's cancer unit." And then I remember she was also an artist herself. And I was probably in the hospital for like I think 3 months because it took a long time for the things to heal,
really
and they didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So eventually she started like painting with the children, like just doing, like they couldn't do much because they were very weak, like they were very tired because of all the medication they were taking. But just like I remember like just had them like mixing paint on the piece of paper, and her just like constantly changing the papers.
That's a lot of fun.
To do a new circle. And then I remember asking her like, oh, why are you doing that? Like, do you think they like that? Do you think that's like boring? She says, no, this is. But now that you're here, I'm like
You're
putting two and two together. I'm like, wow, this is. I totally didn't understand that at that time, but for them that must have been so enjoyable. And I remember we got to play together and do certain things while I was there. But yeah, so definitely art therapy. I feel like you're gonna be the Oprah Winfrey of the art world, of the art therapy world.
Okay, I invite you. As my
Thank you. You already have the glasses down. We have the aha moment. I don't know what's next, right?
You're a good equipment.
Yes,
Very pro.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Gabby, do you mind? Do you do like commissions and things like that? Do you mind sharing with us if you do?
Oh yeah, of course. I help several of my friends or friends do their beautiful pieces. For example, one of them because I was showing in Paris, and my artist friend came and she was like, oh, she really loved my art, would like to have a commission. So the things that she tells me how she felt like living in Paris, and she just got started her certificate programming in a Paris art school.
Oh wow.
So we have some fun talk, and then I started looking at her work. She loves roses, and she's in France. So my commission is like I listen to people's story or my friend's story, and sometimes it can be emotional, it can be personal, or anything like that. And I collect, like as a researcher habit, I collect information and I put that into my art, into my painting. So the painting I made for her was a abstract bouquet, but it's in the shape of France, a map of France. But it's a rose. It's a vases of flowers, and with the colors that she loves.
That's so beautiful.
So I think in a way, when you pens for people or pen for your family, stories is always a good thing to connect.
Absolutely.
And you listen to what they like and what colors and what things and budget wise. So I'm very open to all kinds of commissions requirement. And another one is my friend, he has a golden retriever.
Oh,
and
wow.
he would like well, I don't do pet portrait,
Uh-huh.
but in a way he said, hey, can you make a painting, abstract painting, flower painting based on the color of my dog's hair?
Mm-hmm.
So it's golden.
Yeah.
And he shared with me so many of his dog's names, Nala.
Oh.
He shares so many of Nala's picture. So I just imagine Nala's like playing in the garden.
Yeah.
And has her paws like stamping around, and those paws print becomes flowers, and later on the Nala incarnation into a beautiful flower of gold. I don't know
love
how
that.
it's
No,
kind
yeah.
of far fetched.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's very cute. Hopefully, Rio and Nala can play
Rio.
together. That'd be very cute. No. And now, do you want to share with us your Instagram and your website with us? So people-
My Instagram handle is gmarart, super easy, GMAR art, and then my website is gabriellemar.com.
So
Gabriellemar.com.
www.gabrielle. Perfect. And if when people see this episode and they see like your like work pictures on Instagram, can they
Yes.
reach out to you?
Of
in
course.
case they want directly.
Yes,
okay. And they can
definitely.
do like
Thanks to
reach
Tarik.
out through Instagram and your website, right?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
perfect. So
Welcome
guys, please,
anything.
please reach out to her. Set up whatever
My
you
pleasure.
like, and it'll be a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here today. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad. We only met like not too long ago, and we're here today. I'm very
And brought
thankful.
by the
Yeah,
universe.
the universe. The collective.
Intentionally.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. It's been
Thank you.
truly a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Tarik Talk. Follow Tarik Talk on all social media channels and check out the video interviews online.